horse with the speed of light, a cloud of dust, and a hearty Hi-Yo Silver. The Lone Ranger.
Howdy, Cassius. You want to see me?
Yeah, sit down, Smiley. Sit down. Rest yourself.
Now, skip the sociability. I got a newspaper to get out.
Patience, my boy. Patience. That's one of the virtues, or haven't you heard?
Now, virtue's a little out of my line. Now, look, you're going to tell me what this is all about, you conniving old shyster?
All right. All right. I got you over here because I thought you might be slightly interested to learn that it finally happened.
It has? Just the way we planned it?
Exactly. Last night, Colonel Ingersoll, editor and publisher of the Daily Star, made out his final will and testament.
Skip all that. Get to the important part.
You mean the legacy? Well, the sole heir is none other than that smiling and gracious young man who's captured the hearts of Cactus City. I refer to your friend and mine, Smiley Phillips.
I told you I could pull it off. All I needed was a little time to have that old fool eaten right out of my hand.
Well, that is the end of Phase A. We now proceed to Phase B.
Phase B?
Yes. In this safe, I've got enough evidence to blow the lid off of Caprock County. Most of the cattlemen and miners around here have family skeletons in their closet, and I've got all the documents right here to prove it.
You mean blackmail?
Well, let's just say that the advertising rates of the Daily Star will be a trifle steep from now on.
Well, that's a great scheme, Cassius, but I'm not running the paper yet. Old Ingersoll's very much alive. Anyway, even if I was in charge, we couldn't pull off such a stunt. Not as long as honest Newt Hubbard's sheriff.
I've anticipated that. I think I've devised a plan to eliminate both sources of irritation. And as soon as we have control of the newspaper, we'll elect a sheriff of our own choosing.
I'd be pleased to know how you intend to do that.
I'm sure that you would. Just one thing more, Smiley. Don't ever get over-ambitious. If you're tempted to double-cross me, remember, I've got enough evidence in that safe to put a rope around your neck.
Double-cross you? The thought never entered my mind.
Just make sure that it never does, Smiley. Make sure that it never does.
Tonto, our old friend Sheriff Hubbard seems to be in trouble.
How that, Kimisame?
This newspaper, the Cactus City Star, is viciously attacking him. Its editor, Colonel Ingersoll, deliberately accuses him of coddling criminals, openly inviting the worst element to settle in Cactus City.
Him not do that.
No, Tonto. Sheriff Hubbard is fair and just. He wants anyone accused of a crime to have an honest trial. No more of the old-time lynch law.
Why you suppose editor attack him, Kimisame?
Well, progress always brings reforms. There'll always be people who are wary and suspicious of reforms.
Colonel Ingersoll old-fashioned?
Yes, Tonto. Like too many others, Ingersoll's idea of justice is a hemp rope. No, if civilization is ever to come to the West, it'll be through the efforts of men like Sheriff Hubbard.
Will you help him, Kimisame?
Yes. I'd like you to ride into town and see what you can find out. Tell Sheriff Hubbard I'll be in to see him as soon as it's dark. Be careful, Tonto.
Smiley. Smiley! Now, where in thunderation has that lad got to? Smiley?
Sir, you wanted to see me?
Certainly I wanted to see you. I can't lock up the front page until I write my editorial. Can't write my editorial until you give me that information you promised me.
That is exactly why I'm late, Colonel. I promised you proof, and there it is. Sworn testimony by 3 reliable persons that Sheriff Hubbard stuffed the ballot boxes in order to be reelected.
The colossal cheek of that scoundrel. You're sure now? We don't want to risk a libel suit.
Sworn testimony? What more do you want?
It amazes me, young man, the depths to which this scoundrel has stooped. Take an editorial. You and I are about to chase a polecat back into the hole from which he came.
Yes, sir.
Now, let me see. The first thing...
Oh, Mr. Holt. Any items for tomorrow's Star? Here, cast your eyes over this. Hot off the press and still sizzling.
Yeah, nice. Very nice. I'd say that would do it.
Well, it better. If the colonel ever finds out that the documents I showed him were forged, that Hubbard really didn't stuff those ballot boxes.
Listen, Colonel Ingersoll won't live long enough to know what time the sun sets today. You know exactly what you have to do. Be sure to fire the gun once before you get there, and don't let anybody hear you. The rest shouldn't be too difficult. The sheriff has a very obliging eccentricity. He doesn't wear a gun inside the jailhouse.
I'd say that's right friendly of him.
Hi, Smiley. What's the bad news today?
Read that.
Demand the impeachment of Sheriff Hubbard, or at the very least, a recall election.
Well, that's not all. Go on, read the rest of it. Naturally, as soon as I saw it, I rushed right over here. I figured you'd better get a load of it before it hit the streets.
Stuffed the ballot boxes. This time he's gone too far.
Can you prove you didn't?
Can Ingersoll prove it did?
Oh, that's not the point. See, the shadow's been cast over you. There'll still be doubts in the public's mind.
I wouldn't stand a chance in a recall election. But why this persecution of me?
Who can explain him? I can't. I'm as close to him as anyone.
If I let him force me out of office, all my efforts to create a decent legal system here in Cactus City will have gone for nothing. Nothing.
Why don't you try and have a talk with him? Try to reason with him. Explain your views.
It's no use. I've tried.
Well, what can you lose? Look, if you don't do something about this and quick, that badge of yours is going to be pinned on another vest. You've got to put the welfare of this community before your own personal pride, Newt.
You're right. And no time like the present.
Newt, you forgot something.
Where's Newt off to in such a hurry?
Howdy, Zeke. I'm glad you showed up. I was just about to go find you. I don't like the looks of things. Here, read this. As soon as Newt read it, he buckled on his gun and lit out for the newspaper office. Said it was time he had a showdown with the colonel.
You don't think he really meant it?
Oh, in his frame of mind, there's no telling what he might do. Look, if I were you, I'd amble over there. You know, just in case Newt loses his head.
Here.
It'll do you no good to crawl, sir.
I had no such intention. I've done nothing to be ashamed of, Colonel.
Then I must assume that you take pride in having stuffed the ballot boxes.
That's a lie.
Is it? Suppose I show you absolute proof?
Colonel.
Hold it, Newt. You better give me that shooting iron. Well, I reckon I'll have to arrest you, Newt.
Arrest me? For what? You don't mean you think that I...
There's not much else I can think, Newt. I'm sorry.
But I didn't do it. Well, look for yourself. I haven't even fired my gun.
Not fired, huh? What about this empty cartridge? Come on, Newt.
So after sheriff taken to jail, me go to cafe, Kimasabi, ask more questions, and come back here.
Colonel Ingersoll is dead then.
Ah.
Were you able to talk to Sheriff Hubbard personally?
I may not have chance, Kimasabi, but me over here, deputy, talking with other people.
You say there was an empty cartridge in Hubbard's gun.
Ah, but deputy say sheriff claim him never fire gun.
Tano, I've never known Sheriff Hubbard to lie. It'll be dark soon. We can go into town without being seen. I'd like to hear what Hubbard himself has to say about this matter. Let's get mounted.
Who are we kidding? Neither one of us has made a move in 15 minutes.
Believe me, Newt, I'm just as sorry as I can be. I want to believe your story. Maybe if you entered a plea of self-defense.
Even you believe I did it.
I got here as soon as I could, Sheriff.
It's all right, Zach. They're old friends of mine. As usual, you've arrived just when I couldn't need you more.
Tano told me about your trouble. How can we help?
Well, you could begin by believing in my innocence.
I do. This is obviously a frame-up.
I wish the rest of the people thought that.
Tano said there was an empty cartridge in your gun. You insisted you hadn't fired it.
That's so. I haven't even touched it since I cleaned it earlier today.
May I look at that gun?
Zach? What's in your mind?
Are you certain this is your gun?
Oh, it's my gun, all right.
I remember when you first got this gun. For the time I helped you round up the stage gang in Black Gulch. You dropped it in a ravine, chipped the base of the grip.
Yeah, that's right. You've got quite a memory.
Look here.
It's not chipped.
Somebody switched guns with you.
But when? How? Why, just loaded and cleaned it before...
Before what, Sheriff?
Before Smiley Phillips came in. Oh, but that's not possible. Smiley wouldn't pull a stunt like that. He's a friend of mine.
Somebody come, Kimasabi.
We'll take cover until after he goes.
Zach, what's that killer doing out of his cell?
I don't know as I'm answerable to you, Mr. Phillips.
You're answerable to the citizens of Cactus City who pay your salary. Now, I want that killer behind bars where he belongs.
I always figured you for a friend, Smiley. I didn't want to believe them.
Believe what?
That you're behind the Colonel's murder. That you deliberately framed me.
Oh, so that's the plan, is it? You're trying to slip the news by passing the buck to me. Well, it won't work. I couldn't have killed Ingersoll. May have slipped your mind, but I was with Zach here when the killing took place.
That doesn't prove you didn't have a partner in crime, Smiley.
I don't have to take this kind of talk. Now, you listen to me, Zach. I'm warning you. You better watch your steps. See, you get out of line with me, I'll turn my newspaper on you, and...
Your paper, Smiley? I didn't know the Colonel's will had been probated.
Well, it hasn't. But I'm still in charge, see, and don't you forget it.
You better get out of here before I lock you up as a public nuisance. Smiley, I said get.
You shouldn't have let on to Smiley about our suspicions.
Why? He's as guilty as sin. It's written all over his face.
You can't arrest a man for expression him wear on face.
We'll go back to our camp and try to work out a plan of action. If the Daily Star presses for a speedy trial, we have got to move fast.
You think there's a chance?
There's always a chance. Besides, we know something now that we didn't know before.
What's that?
The motive.
You bungling idiot. You had to strut like a peacock, preen your feathers.
I can't see any harm's been done.
No harm. If we don't work fast, Zach may get enough evidence to point the finger of suspicion directly at us.
Well, I don't see how we can stack the cards against Hubbard any more than they already are.
Shut up and let me think. Now, let's see. Suppose Hubbard was to break jail. Would that seem like an act of guilt? Yeah. And suppose one of the posse was to shoot him down in self-defense.
Hubbard wouldn't try to break jail.
Don't be stupid. Hubbard won't have anything to say about it, one way or the other.
Just one thing, Cassius.
And what's that?
I don't like the way you've been talking to me, your tone of voice. I don't like that at all.
Now, listen, I told you.
I know you told me. You've been over it 100 times. Now, I'm telling you.
Are you threatening me, Smiley?
You take it any way you like. Now, what were you saying about the sheriff?
In here. We're turning you loose on the range, mister, on foot. What you do then's up to you.
Sammy, look, over there.
Tano, there's some more.
What do you think, Kimasabi?
It looks like a posse. It seemed to split up into groups.
But who them after?
Me. I'm the one they're after. It's no use. I can't move another step.
Let me see them come this way.
There's only one thing to do. Sheriff, I'm going to change clothes with you. I'll decoy them away from here.
But they might gun you down.
They might. Tommy, you take the sheriff back to our camp. I'll meet you there later. Now, hurry.
Can't have gotten far.
I can't understand it. Why should Newt have one of his men knock me out like that? And what reason could he have for breaking jail?
Best reason in the world. He's guilty.
There he is. Over in those rocks.
Yeah, I know that shirt anywhere. Come on.
Got him cornered now. He can't get away.
The horses are gone. Look there. Where'd Hubbard get that white horse?
I can't get away, huh? Well, myself, I'd say he did a pretty good job.
And they both wore masks. But I didn't have any trouble recognizing their voices. Guess I heard them often enough. Smiley Phillips and Cassius Holt.
This Holt fellow, what's his business?
Oh, he's the local attorney. I'd never have figured to find those two in cahoots together.
A crime like politics makes strange bedfellows. The situation being what it is, it's not likely anyone would take your word, Sheriff.
That's certain.
Nor can you risk going back to town. With public sentiment worked up against you the way it is, Smiley Phillips wouldn't have much trouble organizing a lynching party.
It's better you stay here till we clear your name.
You say this Holt is a lawyer?
Holt handled all of Ingersoll's legal affairs.
Do you know whether or not he was responsible for drawing up Colonel Ingersoll's will?
Why, yes, he was.
What do you think, Kimasabi?
Well, I'm not sure, Tonto. It's just a hunch. It'll be dark soon. I think I'll ride into Cactus City. You'd better stay here with the sheriff just in case there's trouble. Perhaps a surprise visit on Lawyer Holt might not be a bad idea. I'd like to get a look at that will. Talk to you. I'm interested in a document you have in your possession.
A document? Oh, yeah, now I get it. He's got even less sense than I figured him for if he thinks he can get away with a stunt like this.
He? You mean Smiley Phillips?
Yeah. Don't play games with me, and don't try to tell me that he didn't send you here.
And, what if he did?
I've had him pegged from the start. I knew that Smiley was up to something when he started talking sassy to me. Well, you can go back and tell him that it won't work.
Before I go, I'd like to look at the document you have in your hand. Hand it over, Mr. Holt. This is proof that Smiley Phillips is guilty of murder in Abilene.
Yeah, and a fat lot of good it'll do him. If he thinks he can get off the hook that easy, he's got another thought coming.
What do you mean?
I knew that Smiley tried to get that evidence, so I had a complete duplicate made. I gave it to a lawyer friend of mine in the city. So you made your trip for nothing.
I wouldn't say that, Mr. Holt. On the contrary. You see, my reason for coming here was to look at the Colonel's will. But this will suit the purpose much better. Now, come on.
Well, where are we going?
To pay a call on Smiley Phillips. Move.
Oh, howdy, Cassius. What's this? What's going on?
You ought to know you sent him.
What? You gone plumb loco? I never saw that man before in my life.
Don't hand me that.
Hold it, both of you. If you want to argue with each other, you can do it on a witness stand.
What was that?
Your little game is over, Smiley. Thanks to your partner's cooperation, I have enough evidence here to hang you.
Who are you, anyway?
Let's just say I'm a friend of Sheriff Hubbard.
But I thought...
You fool! You always accused me of being brainless. Now look who's been running off at the mouth. So he gave you enough evidence to hang me, huh? Well, I won't hang alone. Cassius here shot the colonel, and I'll swear to that on every...
Hold it! Now let's go. Both of you.
Thanks, Zach.
That's where a badge belongs.
And this time, I hope it stays there.
Well, I don't mind telling you, I'm glad it's over.
Sheriff, the citizens of Cactus City have learned a great lesson. You've won their trust and their support. They've seen how dangerous a newspaper can be in the hands of the wrong man. They realize that Colonel Ingersoll's kind of law has outlived its usefulness.
And lucky for them. If the colonel had his way, they'd be hanging from the nearest tree this very minute. Of course, they may hang yet.
Now, that's for a jury to decide, not us. At least they'll have the benefit of a fair trial.
Well, Sheriff, it's time Tonto and I were on our way. We've a hard night's ride ahead of us.
I'll never be able to thank you enough. It's you should be wearing this. You've earned it.
So have you. Many times over. Adios.
Adios. Boy, if it weren't for those men, I hate to think how all this would have turned out.
Yeah, Zach. There's many an innocent man now walking a western street who'd have gone unjustly to the gallows if it weren't for the Lone Ranger.
Adios.